It is October 1187. Outside the walls of Jerusalem, a massive Muslim army has gathered. Inside, the population waits, outmatched and defenseless. The dust rising on the horizon signals Saladin's arriving forces. For those watching from the battlements, there was no reason to expect anything but slaughter. In the medieval world, the rules of siege warfare were clear. If a city refused to surrender and was taken by force, the conquering army earned the right to put every inhabitant to the sword. This rule had been executed with terrifying precision in 1099. When the First Crusade captured Jerusalem, they killed the city's Muslim and Jewish populations, leaving a memory of violence that had defined the region for 88 years. After 9 decades of Crusader rule, the tables had turned. Saladin now held the manpower and the historical justification to demand a life for every life lost in that previous massacre. Taking Jerusalem would restore Muslim political control, but it forced Saladin to decide whether the cycle of holy war atrocities would continue under his command. Saladin's leverage at Jerusalem was the direct result of the Battle of Hattin. 3 months earlier, the Kingdom of Jerusalem's entire standing army had been systematically destroyed on the dry hills of Galilee. Saladin spent 15 years uniting Syria and Egypt, closing a geographic vice around the Crusader states. In his final campaign, he baited their army east. Denied water and harassed by archers, the soldiers succumbed to dehydration before the main engagement began. Saladin enforced the laws of war with lethal precision. After the battle, the captive Crusader king passed a cup of water to the noble Reynold. Because Saladin had not offered the water himself, the custom of prisoner protection did not apply. He executed Reynold for his history of breaking truces. Saladin had proven he possessed the tactical capability and the will to enforce the harshest penalties of war. His conduct at Jerusalem would be a choice between following the bloody precedent of 1099 or establishing a new one. In September, Saladin reached the ancient walls. Inside was Balian of Ibelin, a noble who had survived Hattin. He sent a message to Saladin asking for safe passage to retrieve his family and lead them to the coast. Saladin granted the request on 2 conditions. Balian could spend only 1 night inside the city, and he had to swear never to bear arms against Saladin again. But when Balian entered, the city's inhabitants begged him to lead their defense. Bound by his word, Balian reached back out to Saladin, explaining his predicament and asking to be released from his sworn oath. Saladin agreed. He released his enemy from the oath, giving Balian permission to lead the defense against his own besieging army. Saladin's willingness to risk a military advantage for a matter of personal honor stood in sharp contrast to the conduct of the Crusaders, who had first taken the city 80 years earlier. The city negotiated its surrender on October 2, 1187. Inside, the population braced for the retaliatory slaughter that the history of the Crusades suggested was inevitable. Saladin bypassed the massacre rule by establishing a ransom system: 10 gold pieces for men, 5 for women, and 2 for children. However, thousands of the poorest citizens lacked funds to buy their freedom. Saladin and his brother paid their ransoms from their personal treasury. He further diverged from the era's expectations by allowing Eastern Christians to remain in Jerusalem as a protected community. Saladin used his total military control not to extract blood, but to systematically finance the safety of the people he had just conquered. The fall of Jerusalem triggered the Third Crusade, bringing 3 of Europe's most powerful rulers to the Holy Land to retake the city. Among them was King Richard the Lionheart of England, who became Saladin's most formidable rival, leading a grinding 3-year campaign to reverse the Muslim gains. The 2 leaders developed a legendary mutual respect. When Richard fell ill during the campaign, Saladin sent him gifts of fresh fruit and mountain ice. In 1192, they signed the Treaty of Jaffa. Jerusalem remained under Muslim control, but Saladin guaranteed that Christian pilgrims would have safe, unarmed access to the city's holy sites. Saladin secured his political objective by finding a compromise that valued shared religious access over total, violent possession. Saladin died in Damascus in 1193, shortly after the crusade ended, at the age of 55. Despite controlling the wealth of 2 nations for decades, he left behind only enough gold to pay for his own funeral. He had given the rest away. Saladin's legacy proves the most lasting authority is forged when a victor has every justification for vengeance and chooses to walk away from it.